Hi there everyone. So have you been wondering about what are the exam issues or what are the topics from my syllabus that come up often in the exam? What are the main areas that I should study upon? The syllabus is so vast. The exam is close by. What should I focus upon? What are the major issues? So this video is aimed to help you give that direction of study to help you just focus on the major areas. So we have identified top exam issues. We have identified areas that often come up in the exam, and we want to present it to you so that makes your study a whole lot flexible and focused on the major issues and topics revolving around the same. So you've already been on the channel, so you may know a bit of an introduction about me, but just a quick one for those who are new. My name is Devansh, and I'm the lead tutor at Finntutors. We are CIMA registered tuition providers, and all the study resources and details that we are giving you comes out of our experience of tutoring students for a very long time now and delivering high pass rates. So I'm sure this top exam issues video is going to be really helpful for you. If you have any doubts or questions, you can put it in the comment section or you can reach out to us and we'll be most happy to help. Let's get started. So you might be wondering, how do we come up with these explanations, right? How with these topics, how do we know what is going to be tested in the exam? First and foremost, we focus on the pre-scene. We do a lot of analysis of the pre-scene even before it goes out to the students. We do a deep dive to understand the theme of the pre-scene and to pick out the nitty-gritties, to look at the details in the pre-scene and hence understand the topics that can come up. Thirdly, we make our students write pre-scene quizzes. So when students write quizzes and send them to us for evaluation, we learn from a different perspective as well. Different students think in different ways. So we take that on board along with the detailed SWOT analysis that we create and then understand that, okay, these are the major areas, major problems, major issues with the company, and this is where there is an opportunity for them to ask questions. That's how we accumulate the list of topics. It's an experience based and a result backed approach along with student perspective approach as well. So everything that we do is backed by results. Because we have been getting our high results, our high pass rates, we're able to deliver different methods of effective studying. And this is one of them, which is giving you the exam favorite topics, which we have identified throughout years of teaching this operational case study exam. Before I begin, let me make it very clear that these 10 topics that we have accumulated, that we have, thought about and then listed down, are not chronologically set, which doesn't mean that the 10th topic is the least important topic and the first topic is the most important topic. That's not true. We feel that these 10 areas are ones which can be tested for this specific case study, and that is why we are presenting them to you as top 10 issues. It's not that the 10th topic, you can pay less attention to, the first topic you must know. None of that. All of these 10 areas that we are pointing out coincide with your blueprints, your core areas which are identified by CIMA, and all of them are important, something that you must have an idea about. So let me begin. The first topic, or rather starting backwards, the 10th topic that I want to deal with first is production related issues which coincide with the digital aspect. This is part of your core area C and core area D from the blueprints. So to let you know that the topic that we've identified is a core topic which CIMA has also identified, but with this we are giving you the type of questions that can come up. So firstly, how can you use big data, data analytics? This is something that can come up in the exam to cure your production issues, to cure your supplier issues. That is something that can come up. And we have extensively discussed this in our pre-scene analysis as well. Remember that all of these 10 topics we have studied deeply and find them very, very relevant to our case study meals at home, and that is why we have pointed them out for you over here. Another question in this area can be, relating to bottlenecks, inefficiencies that arise in the assembly process, in the packaging process. They can say that a bottleneck has arisen and there are, how will we deal with this bottleneck? So then your theories of throughput accounting, your theories of maximizing contribution per bottleneck should be something that runs through your mind. So when the data comes in front of you, you are able to explain these areas. Another remit in this section is, quality related issues that can definitely come up. They say that they found a quality issue. What are the quality costs concerning with this issue? So quality costs become important. Modern manufacturing techniques can be a very, very realistic scenario. They can say we are moving to JIT or TQM. What does this mean? Are there any advantages of this? And the same way, they can list out certain KPIs, key performance indicators, and then ask you to comment on the relevance of those KPIs for our business. So to be able to answer these topics, you must have varying knowledge from your E1 and your P1 syllabus. Your big data straight into E1, bottlenecks, areas of inefficiency, so managing constraints, managing inefficiencies, part of your P1 syllabus, the throughput accounting, throughput costing, bottleneck contribution, and inefficiencies relating to linear programming. So these are, very, very important topics. Another section on linear programming is also coming up in this video. But to note, in the first issue itself that we identified, this is an important section. Quality costs, part of E1, modern manufacturing, part of E1, KPIs, part of E1. So what we are doing is we are giving you an important umbrella, which is production related issues, and under that umbrella we give you specific pointers which you must attempt to study, which you must have knowledge about, so that if a question comes up, you're ready. Just imagine if you've gone through these top 10 issues with me. We also do exact mock questions on these top 10 issues. If you've gone through them with me, if you've written a mock question with me, and then a topic out of these comes up in the exam, just imagine your level of preparedness. Just imagine your level of confidence. That is what we aim to drive in our students, and that is why we do 25 exactly exam styled questions which are marked, checked, and corrected for each student personally. So what I aim to say is, these important areas that we are pointing out, make sure you give them importance. Next topic number 9, we're moving backwards, is working capital management. Very favorite exam scenario, very favorite exam question which often does come up, and that is why we mention it. It's part of your core areas as well, part F of your core areas. So what type of questions come up in this section? Very common questions are, this is our receivables right now. If you look at our balance sheet for meals at home, you'll see that there are receivables. So how can we manage these receivables? What are these receivables? How can we manage these receivables? How can we make sure there are no bad debts for us? So improving receivables position, very common exam scenario. Next, cash and cash equivalents. You'll also see that in the balance sheet. How can we improve our cash position, or how can we use our cash better? Very common exam scenarios. The most important one for our business meals at home is payables, or managing payable relationships, because if you look at the payable number in our balance sheet, it's quite significant. So issues that could arise if these payables are not managed, issues that could arise if this working capital is not managed. What if we have high number of receivables, low number of payables, and or rather there's a situation where you don't have enough cash to pay the payables, and you're not going to receive money from the receivables. How will you deal with this? So you need to know the working capital cycle. You need to know the benefits of, you know, offering discounts, benefits of taking discounts. How can you better your receivable position? How can you better your payables position? And all of this is in your F1 syllabus towards the end. So we must study the different working capital management techniques. Visualize the pre-seen company in your mind. Imagine our company. And imagine if they ask you, how can I better my receivables? See if you're able to come up with an answer. Actually speak it out. How can we manage our payables? What are the short-term methods to manage receivables, manage payables? Think about it. Put yourself in that situation and think about it. See if you're able to replicate and come up with a good answer. That's one very good way of revision. Putting yourself in that situation and asking yourself. If you can come up with the answer, you've done a good job. Keep moving on. So this way we'll point out the most important study topics to you one by one. Next topic we have looked at as important area 8 is pricing and costing related issues. So this also falls into core activity A or blueprint area A, however you want to call it, that CIMA has identified. But the major focus is again on the P1 syllabus with pricing and costing related issues. So under pricing and costing, what kind of questions can we look at? A very common question in the exam is they'll ask you what your current pricing strategy for your company is, and then can we change it because we are expanding? Should we change it because we are expanding? So you should know the different pricing methods, the different pricing strategies, and the current pricing strategy for your company. This is directly from your P1 syllabus. Next, they can say that we are moving on to a digital costing method, or a digital costing is what we are now going to look to incorporate. So what is digital costing? Advantages of digital costing for your business. Again, changing to a new costing system. So you should know the different pricing methods, the different costing methods, the advantages for each method, disadvantages for each method in your own words, because they will often ask you to suggest pricing systems, suggest a different costing system. So you should be able to have an understanding of the same. And in this same question, they can also give you a costing table or an information table that will have, let's say, absorption costing for a product example, activity based costing for a product example. They'll ask you to explain how are both of these different. What is the difference between absorption and activity based costing by looking at that certain particular table. So again, you should know what those costing systems are. You should know what activity based costing is, why there is a difference, how there could be a difference. You should know those methods. This is directly from your P1 syllabus, and these are important topics that come up, so we can and should not overlook them. So topic area 8, which we find important, is pricing and costing related issues. Important area number 7 that we've identified is risk related decision making. So when you have to make risk related decisions, what do you need to take into account? A direct study again from your P1 syllabus, showcasing that P1 is the most important pillar of this operational case study exam. So that is your also part of your core area E or blueprint area E. What kind of risk related questions do often come up, which are the exam favorite questions? One of them will often be and commonly seen in exams is that they'll give you a payoff table or a cost based table, and they'll ask you to present an analysis on different decision types. So if you're a risk seeker, what would you do? If you're a risk averse manager, what would you do? Suggest. So you should look at the table, analyze the table, and then provide your answer. So you'll need to know what a cost cost table is or a payoff table is. You would need to know how to read a table. You would need to know what the different risk related decision attitudes are, the risk different decision making criterias are risk related. You should be able to know that, and this is directly from your P1 syllabus at the end of your P1 studies. Also in this area there can be the decision tree diagram given to you, which you maybe need to explain. So they'll give you a decision tree diagram. You won't have to draw anything. You will surely have to explain what a square means, what a circle means, what decisions you will make based on the decision tree. So all of this revolving around the risk area is part of your core area E and is often asked. So the concepts of expected value, payoff tables, risk attitude, decision criteria, standard deviation, decision trees become very, very important. So just imagine that over here we are giving you these important segments that often come up. If you revise these segments and then you sign up with registered tuition providers like us, you'll be doing mock questions on these topics as well, which is exactly like the exam under a timed scenario. So when you've done that level of preparation, when you go into the exam, it's going to be just the case of replicating skills that you've already practiced. But that will only happen if the work has been put in the right direction. So this is important topic 7. Next we speak about is budgeting. So the 6th important area as we're counting down is budgeting. Like I've said, because we started from 10 and are moving to 1 doesn't mean that the 10th topic is the least important and the first topic is the most important. This video and this PDF that you're seeing is just a list of topics that we feel are all important. We feel all of them can come up in the exam, and they have regularly been coming up in the exam, giving you specific focus areas, giving you specific studies to look at, giving you specific studies to revise from. So that's the whole purpose of this video analysis that we are doing for you. So we come to budgeting now. Budgeting is part of your core area B, again majorly present in your P1 syllabus, in your P1 studies is where budgeting is what you'll see. So what type of questions come up relating to budgeting? So again, most common question will be your current budgeting system and why is it best for your organization, or why is it not good for your organization. So analysis of the current budgeting system. Secondly, there can be a change in the budgeting system. So you must know the different budgeting systems that are available, part of your P1 syllabus. Another common question is the difference between a fixed budgeting system and a flexed budget system. So you should know that, you should have studied that. And all of this is part of your P1 syllabus. So the topics of fixed budgeting, flexible budgeting, zero-based budgeting, incremental budgeting, activity-based budgeting, what these are in your own words, the advantages of each in your own words, the disadvantages of each in your own words should be known, because common questions around budgeting is what you'll often be seeing in the exam. Again, this is just step 1 where we are pointing out the important topics to you so you revise them. Step 2 will be to write a mock question on these, which you can sign up with us to do the same. And step 3 is when you've written the mock question, our expert team will mark your answers, show you the correct direction with suggested model answers, and that's a complete learning process. Next, we are speaking about the important IAS and IFRS that are tested, which you need to know from your F1 syllabus. This is laid out in your core area D of the blueprints or of the ICANN statements, if you want to put it that way. So naturally these are important and naturally they have a possibility of coming up in the exam, and they are coming up in the exam. So what type of questions can come up? Because you may be thinking this is everything to do with numbers. There are sums which need to be solved sometimes. Case study requires nothing of that sort. So what type of questions come up? The first kind of questions that you can expect is related to property, plant, and equipment recognition and queries. So we are buying a new asset or we are selling this asset. How will we record for it? What costs will be capitalized? What costs will not be capitalized? Straight away from your F1 syllabus, IAS 16 needs to be revised here. Next, you can have revaluation related queries. So again, part of your IAS 16 only. The revaluation of assets upwards, downwards, the explanation of why a revaluation is done, how a revaluation occurs. The steps in the revaluation process are important, are often tested. Same way, revaluation, there can be impairment questions as well. So IAS 36 comes into the picture, which is everything relating to impairment, why an asset gets impaired, how the impairment is recorded, important stuff. Another important area is your leases, IFRS 16. Leases often come up, how a lease can be recorded, how a lease should be recorded. They'll tell you that we are deciding to lease this asset. This will be the lease payments. This will be the interest rate. How will we record them? So you'll have to tell them how the recording happens, how the recording will work. Straight away from your F1 syllabus, you will need to know this. Leases is an exam favorite topic. Another IAS that is often tested is IAS 2 inventories, how the inventories will be recorded, how the recording of inventories will work. So from F1, IASs are important, IFRSs are important, but some which we feel often come up in the exam, we've listed them out for you over here and shown you the possibility of how they can come up in the exam. Like I said, this is only step 1. Step 2 will be to actually practice a mock question on this topic to see your writing explanation skills. That's important. That brings me to topic number 4, which is generic business related issues, but which overlaps greatly between the different core areas that have been identified by CIMA. So it can't fall into particularly core area A, B, C or D because it varies. You'll need knowledge from E1, P1 and F1, different core areas to, in a combined way, answer these topics. So before I move on, just remember that by going through this explanation, it's not going to be a good attempt at the exam, because this explanation is only telling you what topics are important, what topics come up in the exam according to us. If you have practiced writing, which means typing in this case, if you practiced actually putting yourself in that situation, and if you've got your answers marked, checked by professionals, then no matter what comes up in the exam, you'll be ready, because you have worked under that time pressure, you've worked with a registered tuition provider, so it takes your studies to a completely different level. So this video is one step of the process. There is a lot more work that needs to be put in actually formulating an answer, which you can do if you decide to sign up with us and when you sign up with us, which we'll introduce for you step by step. So for this generic business related issues, what kind of questions come up? First, ethics related questions. So you will need your business skills, business acumen and your F1 knowledge to answer ethics related questions. Next, they can ask you tax based questions. So you know how a particular taxation works, what are capital taxes. They may ask you, tax related questions. So could be related to tax on trading income, disallowable expenses, allowable expenses. What does this mean? This is from your F1 syllabus straight away. Next, corporate governance issues can be discussed. This is also part of your F1 syllabus. What is good corporate governance? Now, tabular analysis is very common. They can give you any kind of table and they'll ask you to explain that table. You may not need specifically E1, P1 and F1 knowledge if a tabular analysis comes up, but you'll need that presence of mind to read through the information, then analyze the information and then present it in a presentable way. So tabular analysis of any kind can come up. Next is reviewing the need of internal auditors. So part of corporate governance is internal audit, internal auditors, part of your F1 syllabus again. And the CGMA, cost transformation model, is a very popular exam question. They'll tell you that how does our organization, or how can our organization improve if we use the CGMA cost transformation model. So what is the cost transformation model? What are the 6 steps in the model? From your P1 syllabus directly, it's an important aspect you should know. So through this video, we are quickly trying to point out important and exam favorite topics which you can revise from the E1, P1 and F1 syllabus before you write mock questions on the same. The next topic we feel is important, and again does often come up in the exam, is a chart based analysis. They'll give you a chart, ask you to analyze it, falls in your CVP, cost volume profit analysis section, straight out of your P1 syllabus. Very, very important area, and it's part of your core area E as well. So what type of questions come up? They can give us a question asking us to explain how the concepts of break-even point, expected value, sensitivity analysis are important for our company. So what is a break-even point? What is the method of expected value? What is the process of sensitivity analysis? You may be asked to explain the same because the board members don't understand it. So they require your input on the same. Next, they can give us a break-even chart with the break-evens of different products. So a multi-product break-even chart can also be given. Single break-even chart, multi-product break-even chart is part of your P1 syllabus. They'll give you points on that chart, and then they'll ask you to explain what each point means. So a deep understanding of the break-even chart or the multi-product break-even chart is important for this exam. Same way, they can give you linear programming graph. They'll ask you to explain what LPP is, what that graph is, what is the feasible region, what is the feasible area. So you must know what the concept of an LPP is, why an LPP is used. You must know the concept of bottlenecks. You must know the bottlenecks that your business has so that you can explain it better when the question comes up. So directly, the study of a break-even chart, multi-product break-even chart, the study of LPP is very important, and this is straight direction into your P1 syllabus. Remember, you are never going to be asked to draw anything. You'll only be asked to analyze, only be asked to explain. So never try to learn up everything, mug up everything. That is not required at all. You simply need to be able to explain the topic in your own words. So while revising LPP, if you can just remember LPP, close your eyes, in 10 lines, you can explain it in 10 lines. It's more than enough knowledge for this case study. Next topic, very obvious topic, is the variances part. Straight again, P1 syllabus. A very common question is where different tables will be given to you with different variances already calculated, which means already they would have told you that this is the adverse variance, this is the favorable variance. You may need to mention why the variance has arisen by looking at the situation provided. They will always provide a scenario in the question that will clearly tell you why the variance has occurred. You will have to read the question, analyze the question, and pick it out. So analysis is the major skill here. Firstly, you will need to know what the variance means. Secondly, you'll need to analyze the question and pick out what is important from there. Now, different types of variances are again given, and then the reason for the favorable variance, reason for the adverse variance is often explained. Often needs to be explained, sorry. This is a very, very common question in the exam. So variance is provided, any kind of variance they can give you, you are then supposed to explain why that variance has occurred from the perspective of your company and from analyzing the question that they have given on screen. So you must know the material variances, labor variances, overhead variances, fixed overhead variances, and your just the different kind of variances should be very clear in your mind, including the sales variances as well. why a favorable variance occurs, why an adverse variance occurs, you should be knowing very clearly over here. Next topic we look at is time series analysis. Counting down from 10 to 1, we've reached the first topic. So this is not the most important topic, like I've mentioned. 1 to 10, all of them are important, all of them come up in the exam. We just presented them to you number wise, numerical wise, so it's easier for you to gather. This is part of your core area E. Again, straight away P1 syllabus, and there is a full chapter on time series analysis, the full topic on time series analysis that you should have gone through. Again, what type of time series questions come up? It will generally be what the time series is. You'll have to explain that. Why is it useful? Along with that, they will have given you what the trend is. They will tell you whether to use the multiplicative model or the additive model. You will just have to explain. You will just have to tell them what the seasonal variation is, what the cyclical effect is, what the different seasonal variations could mean, what the trend line means. Your job is to simply provide an explanation. You will never have to calculate anything. So very clear understanding of how to read a time series analysis chart, how to pick out the seasonal factor, how to pick out what the trend line is, what the trend line means. That's all that you have to do. So that is important and should be revised from a student's perspective. And this is straight from your P1 syllabus. So as you've seen throughout this video, we have tried to, come up with 10 areas, and under each area we gave you different hints or different pointers that you can look at, and then you can study this from the syllabus areas, trying to tell you that these often come up in the exam. So be prepared with these topics. But this is only the first step to your preparation. Second step would be to know the pre-seen in and out. And the third step would be to actually practice mock questions. Now, we as CIMA registered tuition providers provide all three to you. The entire solution to cracking your OCS exam is provided by us. All you have to do is follow our method, choose one of our study courses that you're comfortable with, and sign on. We'll leave the link in the description below to our OCS page and to the website as well. We have two options, the on-demand course and the full course, depending on your budget and depending on your time commitment, how much time you have. You can choose the study course and begin your studying with us. It's very flexible, and as you've already seen, our material is very, very centered, created for students, making it easy for students and saving your time in the preparation. So thank you for being here. Thank you for looking at this video. If you have any other questions, do email us directly, and I look to, learn with you further. I look to help you passing this exam. Thank you for being here.